Welcome to Backstage Melody. Did you know Tina Turner almost rejected the very song that revived her career and made her a global icon? What's Love Got to Do With? It wasn't just another hit, it was the song that flipped everything she thought she knew about music. But the shocking part? Tina hated it at first. Let's dive into the untold story of how this track went from an unwanted demo to the anthem that defined a legend. The song nobody wanted. When What's Love Got to Do With It first came across Tina Turner's desk, she wanted nothing to do with it. She was in the middle of reinventing herself, leaning into rock, grit, and raw emotion. A soft, mid-tempo pop tune about love being a second-hand emotion didn't sound like her comeback anthem. In fact, she famously called the song wimpy and flat-out refused to record it at first. The song, written by Britten and Lyle, had already been passed around like a hot potato in the industry. Cliff Richard turned it down, saying it didn't suit his style. Fizz, the British pop group, also rejected it. Even pop acts that were dominating the charts thought it was too plain. Nobody believed this odd little tune had hit potential. Tina's reluctance made sense. At the time, she had just clawed her way out of one of the darkest chapters of her life. Years of abuse, financial ruin, and small-time gigs that barely paid the bills. She was determined to return with a bang, something that reflected her fire and defiance. What's Love Got to Do with it felt too tame, too polished, and too far from the raw rock energy she wanted. But Britten and producer Roger Davies saw something in the song that Tina couldn't. They believed her unique voice, raspy, powerful, and filled with experience, could give the track an edge no other artist could bring. They begged her to at least try recording a demo. Reluctantly, Tina gave in. During the first few takes, Tina still wasn't convinced. She sang the song with little enthusiasm, but Davies encouraged her to experiment. He told her to strip back the emotion and sing it with a cool detachment, almost like a challenge. That's when magic happened. Her voice, slightly restrained yet simmering with strength, transformed the song. Suddenly, the wimpy tune had a sharp bite, and everyone in the studio knew they had something special. This was the turning point. What Tina initially dismissed was now shaping up to be the very sound that would relaunch her career. But at that moment, she still had no idea just how massive this single would become, or how it would rewrite music history. And when the song finally hit the airwaves, it became the ultimate comeback story, a comeback like no other. By 1984, Tina Turner had already lived what felt like 3 lifetimes. She wasn't just trying to stay relevant, she was clawing her way back from an industry that had written her off. At 44, she was considered too old for pop stardom. Record labels weren't interested in older women topping the charts, and the music scene was dominated by young, glossy MTV acts. But Tina was about to rewrite all those rules with a single song she didn't even want to record. When What's Love Got to Do With It was released in May 1984, something remarkable happened. It didn't just climb the charts, it blew them up. By September, it hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Tina became the oldest female solo artist to achieve that feat. The success shocked everyone, including Tina herself. For a moment, she wasn't just a comeback story, she was the story. The single became the driving force behind her album Private Dancer, which went multi-platinum and turned her into an international superstar all over again. Critics praised her vocal delivery, describing it as a masterclass in controlled power. The contrast between the laid-back groove of the song and the sharp, raspy edge of her voice created magic. MTV supercharged this success. The music video, Tina strutting through New York City streets, effortlessly cool in a black leather miniskirt and denim jacket, became iconic. Younger artists were imitating her style, while audiences couldn't take their eyes off her confidence. It was more than fashion. It was a statement that Tina Turner had survived, evolved, and was now unstoppable. Her resurgence was so powerful that she even outsold artists half her age, including Madonna and Cyndi Lauper during that period. For Tina, this wasn't just a hit. It was a total career resurrection, proof that talent and perseverance could outshine age and industry bias. But while the world danced to her anthem, few understood the deeper meaning behind those lyrics. The message behind second-hand emotion. On the surface, What's Love Got to Do with It sounds like a playful, almost cynical take on romance. Its lyrics dismiss the notion of love as something meaningful, calling it a second-hand emotion. But behind this catchy hook lies a message that mirrored Tina Turner's life at the time, and that's what made the song so powerful. The song wasn't written specifically for Tina. Graham Lyle and Terry Britten had penned it as a sort of anti-love anthem, challenging the idea that romance always had to be the centerpiece of relationships. It was daring and a bit controversial for the early 80s, where most pop songs were about passionate love or heartbreak. But Tina's voice and her life experience gave those lyrics a razor-sharp edge. For Tina, love had become a complicated and painful subject. After enduring years of abuse and control under Ike Turner, she had every reason to question the value of love. She had lived through the dark side of it, manipulation disguised as affection, control masked as devotion. When she sang, "Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?" it wasn't just a line in a song, it was the voice of a woman who had survived love at its most destructive. The song's cool, detached tone resonated with millions. It spoke to people who had been burned by love, who wanted to reclaim their independence. In an era when women were often portrayed as desperate for romance, Tina stood out as someone saying, "I don't need it. I don't need you to define me." Culturally, the song was groundbreaking. It wasn't just another love ballad, it was an anthem for self-reliance, delivered by a woman who had lived every word. Fans didn't just hear the lyrics, they felt them, because Tina's voice carried a weight of truth. The success of What's Love Got to Do with It turned this anti-love message into a global movement. People sang along, but they were also inspired by the confidence and strength Tina projected. This wasn't about rejecting love entirely, it was about refusing to be broken by it. And while the lyrics struck a nerve with audiences, the song's real power came from the life story behind that voice. From abuse to freedom. Tina Turner's road to freedom wasn't just difficult, it was nearly impossible. For over a decade, she endured a toxic and violent marriage with Ike Turner, a man who controlled every aspect of her life, from her stage persona to her finances. Behind their polished performances, Tina was living a nightmare. She was beaten, belittled, and stripped of her independence. By 1976, she had reached her breaking point. One night, after yet another terrifying confrontation, Tina made a decision that would change everything. She ran. With just 36 cents in her pocket and a gas station credit card, she fled their Dallas hotel and walked across a highway, determined to never return. That moment wasn't just an escape, it was the birth of a new Tina Turner. But freedom came with a price. Ike left her with nothing. No money, no house, no security. For years, she performed wherever she could. Small Vegas shows, TV appearances, and any club that would have her. She was paying off debts, fighting to keep her name, and trying to prove she was more than just the other half of Ike and Tina Turner. Most people would have given up, but Tina was relentless. When What's Love Got to Do with It soared to #1, it was more than a chart-topping single. It was Tina's declaration to the world, "I am still here, and I'm stronger than ever." The song symbolized her independence in every way. No one could claim her success but her. The timing made it even more powerful. By the time this song came out, Tina wasn't trying to fit into the music industry's mold, she was breaking it. She didn't just come back as a star, she returned as a symbol of resilience, inspiring millions of women who had faced their own struggles to reclaim their power. Her victory wasn't just personal, it was historic. Tina had gone from a survivor of abuse to a global icon who defined an era. And as the world celebrated her comeback, new chapters of her story continued to unfold, some even sparking controversy decades later. The wig controversy and legacy. Even after Tina's passing, her name still commands respect, admiration, and sometimes fierce debate. In July 2025, a European fashion label sparked outrage when they unveiled a €1,000 wig inspired by Tina's iconic spiky hairstyle. They marketed it as a tribute to the Queen of Rock and Roll, but fans weren't buying it. Social media erupted with comments calling it exploitative and tone-deaf, accusing the brand of profiting off Tina's image without understanding what that style really meant. To fans, Tina's hair wasn't just a fashion choice. It was a statement of defiance. Back in the 80s, when female artists were often packaged to fit a cookie-cutter image of beauty, Tina's wild, unpolished spikes screamed individuality. It was bold, rebellious, and unmistakably her. No pricey designer wig could replicate the authenticity behind that look, because it wasn't about perfection. It was about attitude. The backlash was so intense that within days, the company was forced to pull the product and issue a public apology. It was yet another sign that Tina's legacy is fiercely protected by the very people who grew up inspired by her courage and style. But this controversy also sparked a bigger conversation about how Tina's influence lives on. Her music isn't just replayed on classic rock stations, it's sampled by younger artists, featured in movies, and honored in documentaries. The 1993 biopic, What's Love Got to Do With It, gave new generations a glimpse into her harrowing past and triumphant comeback. Even now, her story is referenced whenever discussions about strength and survival in the music industry arise. The truth is, Tina's legacy isn't just tied to her hits. It's tied to her refusal to be defined by pain. Every song, every performance, every image of her in that leather miniskirt and denim jacket carries the message that no matter how dark your past, you can still rise. And while fans continue to celebrate her story, there's one friendship, one conversation that shaped Tina's courage long before the spotlight returned. Cher's crucial advice. Long before What's Love Got to Do With It topped the charts, Tina Turner faced the hardest decision of her life: how to leave Ike and survive on her own. At that time, she had very few people she could confide in. The music industry was ruthless, and many of her peers either turned a blind eye or were too scared to get involved. But one woman wasn't afraid to listen: Cher. The two had met while appearing on the Sonny and Cher show in the early 70s, and Cher instantly saw through the glamorous image of Ike and Tina Turner. She noticed the quiet exhaustion in Tina's eyes, the way she carried herself like someone who was constantly bracing for impact. When Tina finally opened up, Cher didn't give her pity. She gave her truth. According to Cher, Tina came to her one night, distraught and unsure if she could ever leave Ike. Cher didn't hesitate. "You have to walk out, Tina," she told her. "Just leave. Take nothing, don't look back." It was blunt, almost harsh, but exactly what Tina needed to hear. This wasn't just friendly advice. It was survival wisdom. Cher knew what it meant to fight for independence in an industry dominated by men who held all the power. She told Tina, "You'll never find your voice while someone else is holding the microphone for you." That conversation lit a spark in Tina. Just a few months later, she acted on Cher's words, escaping her marriage with only the clothes on her back. In interviews years later, Cher recalled, "I didn't think she'd do it, but when she did, I knew she'd never look back. She was too strong." This pivotal moment of sisterhood and solidarity gave Tina the courage to start over, and that courage would fuel the raw emotion behind What's Love Got to Do With It. And when the world finally heard her voice, unshackled and unapologetic, it was clear that this was more than just a hit song. It was Tina's ultimate triumph. What's Love Got to Do With? It wasn't just a hit, it was Tina Turner's victory cry. The song she almost rejected became the anthem that redefined her career, proved her unstoppable resilience, and inspired millions to rise above their own struggles. If you loved uncovering the untold story behind this iconic track, hit that like button, subscribe to Backstage Melody, and stick around, because the next story might just reveal a secret you've never heard before.